Hey, let's welcome our guest, Butch. He is the developer of Stretch and Release. Butch, thank you for coming to the show today. Thank you for taking out your time to come on here and express to us what you're doing. Can you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
I can, yes. I am a guy who at age 37, I literally weighed 315 pounds. And I found myself in a situation where I had to help me. And I'd never been in healthcare before in my life.
Mm.
I tried everything in the world, found a doctor who helped me lose the weight. We can talk about that later. And then started working out because I used to be a three-sport athlete and I wanted to build myself back and came into the realization that I was suffering from severe low back pain to the point I would literally crawl out of my car on my hands and pull myself up by the door handles. And that's what led me into learning about the muscles of the human body, going back to school, studying them for the last 20 years and developing this technique, which now at 65, I'm more flexible than I was at 40. And I wake up every day with no pain. So that's how I got here.
That is okay. First, that's awesome. What inspired you to develop like Stretch and Release? Like you decided I'm going to make a platform of this. What inspired you to do that?
Well, so what's funny about it is it sort of found me more than me finding it. I'd gone back to school. I thought I would start studying massage therapy, and I got into
Mm,
neuromuscular and sports massage, was intrigued me a lot. What was strange about that was that when I went into the school, like I said earlier, I'd never studied health from this perspective.
right.
And it was like some sort of a divine intervention in the sense that I used to say to my wife, I don't know how I know these things. All I know is I see things and know things that even my teachers are wanting to know how I knew that.
Right.
Once I completed that degree, towards the end of that, several of my teachers wanted to connect me with a man named Aaron Mattis, who had actually founded a stretching technique called active isolated stretching. And it's very different from what we do typically when we go to gym class or we go to the gym or whatever.
Right.
So I started studying, and I got to study for free with him for 6 months. I mean, I'm telling you, the steps of this was almost like there's something bigger than me making this happen. And, I started getting mentors. I had two mentors who were neurosurgeons. I had a chiropractor, I had a PT, and
Right.
they started bringing me pieces to the puzzle. And when I started to learn how important the brain was in the stretching of the human body, my body then started to heal itself and get better. And I was noticing I was more flexible than I've ever been in my entire life. And that's when I started putting it together and thought, well, I'm going to try teaching this to other people. People would
Right.
come in with things like plantar fasciitis. They had it for 3, 4 months. And I mean, I'd have them to call me as quick as the next day or 2 days later. And they're like, whatever you did, it's gone. And
Wow.
then I said, all right, well, why don't we teach people how to do this as well? And then I started learning and looking more and more into the body about what we mess up on is we are looking at the symptoms. If my low back hurts, we assume we have a back problem. And 9 times out of 10, it's a thigh problem. And
Mm,
so that's what led me down that path as I kept building and growing and working with hundreds and hundreds of people, watching them from, I mean, as young as age 15, 16 to as old as 95, 96 years old. And they could have artificial joints, they could have back surgeries, whatever. And they just, once you start to unlock the mind and to unlock the muscles, all of a sudden they were doing things they hadn't done in years.
oh yeah, you talking my language now. When you start talking about unlocking the mind, yeah, that is the most powerful tool. I don't think people really understand it, and I love the way how you're encompassing it into the body as
Yeah.
well, because
Yeah.
people don't realize like everything starts here.
Yeah.
So I love that. Can you share a bit about your journey and what led you to focus on the healing movement, healing through the movement, through the stretching? Like what
Mhm.
happened in your life that said, "Yeah, I'm a heavy set guy," and but how did you get into that? Because it's really
Yeah.
quite neat.
Well, like I said earlier, I was a three-sport athlete when I was in high school, and it was kind of funny because I was in a head-on collision at 18 once I graduated high school, broke my pelvis in 7 places, broke my left arm, and not knowing where my life was heading because I thought I was going to be a business guy. I
Mhm.
had a doctor at the time, it was in North Carolina. And I remember saying to him, so I guess now with this broken arm and stuff, you're going to probably put a rod in my arm. And he said, no, sir. He said, I believe that the good Lord wants you to have metal. You'd be born that way. He said, you're going to be
Mhm.
fine. And he
Okay.
got me back, got me on my feet, showed me what to do, and no metal in my body, no surgeries. And he literally helped me heal my pelvis and my arm. And at 65 today, I don't have any issues with that. Then when I got to weighing, I mean, what happened was I was eating like crazy because as an athlete, you learn to take in a lot of calories. And so I was always known for how much food I would eat, which is a terrible thing. Uh,
Right.
and in my 30s, I actually went through a divorce. My wife and two kids moved back to North Carolina. And I woke up realizing that I was here by myself. And I started eating my emotions. And as I did, I started putting on more and more and more weight until I got to the point of going to the doctor. And she said to me, you know, with your family history, she said, you probably will have a stroke by the time you're 40, the way you're heading. And I was like,
Right.
oh man, which was the wake up call. And she said, I can teach you how to eat and lose weight and then maintain it if you're willing to do the work. And she
Mm.
said, I'm going to give you a week. Let me know if you are. And then you and I will work one-on-one and I'll teach you. So she was a blessing. I mean, she'd gone back to school and studied nutrition, which a lot of physicians have not done. And
Right.
she was really the catalyst to start this whole thing off.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. It seems like first you had an issue, then you educated yourself, and then you started to change the issue
Yeah.
of what you had. That's beautiful. What makes stretch and release different from traditional stretching methods?
That's a great question. So in the stretch and release, we teach people a specific type of stretch. I also teach people how to do self massage. The most
Mm.
important thing I teach people, and what makes us very different about that, is how much the mind plays such a role with the muscles. So the best thing to think about with the mind and the muscles, everything you think, feel, and do will tense your muscles. Now, people, when they
Right.
talk about stretching, they think of lengthening muscles. The best way to think about muscles is if you take a rubber band between your hands and it's a certain length, you start to twist that rubber band, it's going to get shorter and shorter. Well, the muscles
Mm.
will do the same thing based on how you feel. I mean, do you feel anxious? Are you upset? Are you angry? Whatever. Or what are your thought processes? Are you worrying about things? Are you stressing about something? As well as the things that you do every day. So instead of the so-called muscles getting shorter, they are technically in the sense that we are twisting those muscles up as we go through the things in our daily lives with the mind. What we want to learn how to do is not stretch the muscle out, but literally unwind the muscle to take the tension off the muscle, which takes the tension off the nerves, the blood vessels, and the joints, and including the spine. And so once you start to understand that as you release that tension, now the body can go back into the relaxed state, but you got to relax the mind first.
Mm. This is I'm so excited. I feel like first of all, I love education. So my master's degree is in education, and this is really like, oh wow, I'm like mesmerized.
Yeah.
Can you explain the mind and body connection in your techniques? Like if you choose one of your techniques that you
Yeah.
use, could you explain that for us?
Yeah, exactly. So let's say, for instance, you want to stretch out your calves. Now, most people, when they think of stretching out a calf, they'll stand on a slant board, they'll lean against the wall, they'll drop their heel off of a step, right?
Right.
Well, number one, that's not a calf stretch. That's an Achilles tendon stretch. In your
Mm.
calves, you have four muscles there that control the foot vertically for walking, laterally for balance, and rotationally as we move through our lives during the day, rotating our bodies different directions. When we're doing a stretch, we're only going to use something like a yoga strap, which is 8 foot long, or an 8 foot long rope. When
Right.
you're setting against the wall with your back against the wall, your body's 90 degrees to your leg. When you start to pull the toes back, instead of trying to do a bicep curl by using the resistance of my foot, what I really want to do there is gently pull the toes back towards me as I breathe out and quiet my mind. You see, I can't be on the phone talking to my best friend. I can't be thinking about what I'm going to do an hour from now. I've got to be focused on the muscle just releasing. Now, usually the
Ooh,
first thing I get from people is, yeah, but I don't feel any pain. I don't feel any pain. I don't want you to feel pain, because
right.
if you feel pain, the brain goes high alert that saber-tooth tiger is chasing us, and it
Mm,
contracts the muscle. And what most people do will be bicep curls at that point, because they're using resistance of the foot.
right. Now look at me gonna be after the show putting my toes together and
Yeah.
relaxing. That because I just started this stretching thing. Stretching when I
Mhm.
ran track was important. As you get older, those things seem like I don't have time to do that. So for the last 2 years, though, I've been waking up in the morning and before I go to bed, I'll do a stretch. But
Mhm.
that makes a lot more sense what you're saying because I'm really not, I'm still thinking and I might be on the phone doing my stretches
Right.
or
Right.
whatever. But that makes a lot of sense. I like that. I
So
like that.
if you go back to the track days, and you're starting off in the running. So when you're running, when the calf muscles can extend, what
Mm,
happens is that the ankle then can bend much farther. Now, when you're running and or you're walking now, you're literally using the arch in your foot and the calf muscles to push you off. So if you
right.
watch most people today when they walk with their upper quads on the front of their thighs. That's going to lead to low back pain. We can talk about that later. But what happens is that for most of us, we go out, we want to go running, we want to go walking. So we buy walking shoes and we buy running shoes. The soles are usually thicker. There's arch supports and there's heel supports in those shoes. What happens there is that the shoe doesn't bend at the arch. So therefore
Right.
the ankle can't bend, which forces you to walk from your thighs, you see, which leads to back pain
Right.
and even neck and shoulder pain. Okay.
I
So
was gonna say neck and shoulder pain too.
yes,
I
yeah.
got it. Okay.
So if
This
the ankle can't bend properly, and you can watch people when they walk, if the shoe soles are too thick, if the ankle can't bend properly, they'll lead with their nose, which means every inch of your head, which weighs about 10 to 12 pounds, comes out in front of your chest. The pressure between your shoulder blades and the back of your neck will increase by 10 pounds per inch
ooh, we this is very
just from
informative.
walking. Yeah,
This
just
is
from
just
walking.
like
Yeah.
a simple walk to the kitchen and you're trying to figure out like why you have to do
Yeah.
this all the time. And oh my.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this. Um, how does oh no, what are some of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to stretching?
Oh, that's an easy one. And they do the same thing when it comes to self massage. The biggest thing they make with stretching is they try to stretch too many muscles at one time. It's sort of like the brain is looking at you going, hey, which muscle do you want me to let go of here? You've got like 14
Right,
altogether here. Okay. The second
right.
thing that they do is they hold it way too long because they think they're fighting with their muscle. And really, what they're fighting with is their brain, who's afraid that you're going to hurt yourself. So it
Mm,
contracts the muscles to prevent that. Lastly, they pull really hard because of that vision of I'm going to lengthen, I'm going to make my muscle let go. Your muscle doesn't have any reasoning power with it at all. It is totally at the mercy of the brain because the brain has to protect you 100% of the time. So if
right,
you get afraid that you're going to hurt yourself, the brain will automatically just contract that muscle to stop you in that position. It's not going to just let you tear something. Okay. When it comes to
right.
self massage, it's the same thing. People always say to me, I just love a deep tissue massage. And I'm like, well, you could have gone down to the local bar and somebody could have beat you up for free. What happens there is that somebody that's working on you, they're grinding and grinding and grinding in on your body. The brain then contracts the muscle, which causes the muscle to fatigue. And
Mm,
momentarily you feel good because the muscle's fatigued out. What
mm,
happened there was that the brain contracted it, not unlike lifting a weight, and the muscle fatigued out. And that's going to build back lactic acid so that 3, 4 hours later, you're going to wind up with the same pain again. And if you understand how to do it yourself in between those massages, you can actually keep yourself from going backwards.
this is like mind blowing. I promise you, this is like what? Because here
I
I
totally
am,
get it. Yes.
always like massage therapist. Oh yeah, let me get the deep tissue massage, and then you
Yeah.
feel good, and then like 2 weeks later, you're like, oh, I need to go get a massage, and this is
Yeah.
why though. This
Yeah,
is
I mean, you
wild.
can use something as simple as a tennis ball and a sock. Throw the ball over your shoulder and literally give yourself a back massage anytime you want, anywhere you want. And the
Mm,
thing is it's the same principle as with the stretching. What you're doing is you're just searching for spots on your back that are sore. Most people go to the gym and you'll see them rolling on rollers and you'll see them rolling on balls and all this. Again,
right.
the mind is like, okay, so what is it you want me to let go of here? Because you've hit 42 muscles at one time and all you got was pain. Why do we need
Exactly.
pain? That's the question.
This is, you know, this is how I feel all the time because I can't understand why people want to inflict pain on themselves or scare themselves. Those are my two. Like, why do you want to scare yourself? And like, why do we need that? So I
Right.
like this. I really do.
Yeah.
How does stretching help release not only physical tension, but emotional as well? How do these
Great.
two work together?
Yeah, that's a great one because you see they work hand in hand. If
Mhm.
you're in an emotional state, let's say you're angry or you're sad or you're grieving or any of those things, what happens is that the muscles then will be in a contracted state because you're in that fight or flight state. Okay.
Mhm.
So what goes there is that as you're working with the stretching, at the same time you're releasing those emotions. So I've actually worked on people who've lost a spouse or they've lost a child or they lost a parent. And as I'm talking to them and I'm coaching them, as they start to let go that emotion in the mind, you will actually see them lay there and start crying, but you'll
Mm,
feel their muscles letting go as they're letting go. You see.
right.
And
I can
so
understand that.
yeah, so those two things go hand in hand, just like
Mhm.
doing something physical can tighten your muscles, being in an emotional state of various types can tighten your muscles the same way.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense to me because I do a lot of meditation, breath
Mhm,
work, and like helping people
mhm.
release. And so sometimes afterwards they say that they feel tensed, and I tell them most of the time it's because you still are holding on to that emotion. Maybe you let it go a little bit, but you're
Yeah.
still holding on to that emotion. And so doing the stretch and release techniques that you teach could really
Mhm.
help them completely release that emotion because it's more of the mind and the body connecting together to release and not just the mind. Great.
I
I really
yeah,
love
I
that.
I I call it my little brain breaks because literally it is very meditative as you're doing it.
Mhm.
So it's like you're combining meditation in with this physical movement so that you
Right,
can release it from the emotional side and also from the physical side at the same time. And now the
right.
body is at peace.
Which gives you a great breakthrough, breakthrough in
Yeah.
body and breakthrough in mind. I
Yeah.
love that. What are some oh, no, I think see, I'm so excited, I'm skipping questions here. How how can, stretch and release be used as a tool, um, to not only release the emotional part, but if I'm at home and I wanna do some of these stretch and release
Mhm,
techniques, how is it gonna release my stress? I just came home from, like, a hard day at work, I got
mhm,
kids, I got, like, all these different things
mhm.
going on in my life, and I'm like, "Oh, let me go up here and look for these techniques," and how is
Yeah.
that gonna support me?
I get that every day. Yeah, so when you think about a dog or a cat or even a bird, I mean, every day they'll stretch. You'll see a bird on a wire and they're stretching their wings out before they fly off, or you'll see a dog, they'll do a downward dog kind of thing and they're stretching out. So from a human standpoint, we really need to do the same thing on a daily basis, not for
Mhm.
long periods of time. Because again, what I usually get from somebody is like, yeah, but I don't have time to stretch all my muscles every single. No, 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 no. You don't have to do that. Typically what I say to people is spend about 15 or 20 minutes when you first wake up in the morning. And if you
Mhm.
need to, get up a little bit early so you can do that. But you can do that in your bedroom. And because when you're sleeping at night, you can have dreams, you're rolling around in bed, you're tightening your muscles even while you're sleeping. Okay. So that
Mhm.
first thing in the morning gets the blood flowing in your body, gets the body loosened up, gets the brain in a quiet state, not unlike doing a meditation first thing in the morning, which I do also. Then
Right.
in the evening before you go to bed, do a similar thing again. And because you have all this stress throughout your day, you've got kids to take care of, you've got deadlines to meet, you've got people to go see, all those things create chronic stress and tension in the body. And so it's like closing out your day for the day. And then that way, when you go to sleep, you can go to sleep better, which that improved sleep then takes a lot of tension out of your body. But the
Right.
whole key to it is you want to be able to release the tension in the mind so that you can release the tension in the muscle. And as you do that, and I do it every day, you'll find that things that used to bother you will tend to just kind of fall off to the side.
Wow, you just answered two of my questions in a row. I was going to ask, the next one was, can stretching be a form of meditation and it can
Mhm.
connect each other? But this one, how does, and I don't know if you know about this, how does the breath work tie into the methods? Because I know like
Yes.
we're using our mind, but
Yeah.
how does this tie in together?
So the breath work, what happens there is that it's part of the relaxing of the body and the mind, because a lot of times when we're tense or we've got things on our mind, we breathe very shallow. And it's like
Hmm.
what we want to do with that is to take really nice, slow breaths where you're just letting it out, letting it go as you're stretching. So, in other words, if going back to the calf stretch, if I'm doing my calf stretch and I'm pulling the toes back towards me, what I'm doing as I'm pulling those toes back is really just I'm starting with an inhale and then slowly breathe out, let it out as my toes come back to relax the mind and the body. It takes the tension out of the inside of the body when you do that.
I love it. I love it. What are some easy stretches, release exercises that someone could do at home? Per se, like they have a busy
Yeah.
schedule, maybe they just watch the YouTube video. Like,
Mhm.
what is one easy stretch that they could do at home to kind of let's get
Yeah.
it together
Okay.
and let me get moving here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, number one thing, most of us, when we're working in front of computers, we're driving cars, we're picking children up, we're picking things up with our bodies. And so typically the back of the neck down in between the shoulder blades becomes very painful. Now, you go to somebody and you say, the back of my neck is stiff, between my shoulder, but they're going to either beat your back up, they're going to put vibrating machines on your back, they're going to try to get you to lift weights or whatever the case may be. The cause of that is actually coming from the front of the neck and the outside of the chest. A simple thing
Mm,
somebody can do is literally take your chin, rest it in the palm of your hand, take a moment, feel the weight of your head in your hand. And then
mm,
once you do that, inhale in, breathe out, and only use your arms, lift your head up and hold for about 5 seconds as you're breathing out. Just
right.
feel the muscles on the front of the neck just relaxing as you do that. And then
Mm,
repeat that 10 times. Now, the secret to the 5 seconds is that every muscle in your body has a stretch reflex. Once you start to hold it for 15, 20, 30 seconds at a time, the brain perceives that as danger, which will contract
right.
the muscle. The 10
Mm,
repetitions is literally letting your brain see as you lift up and you first start to feel the tension, stop. You're allowing the brain to see that it was safe to make that movement. And then when you let go and you release it and come back on the second one, you'll find that the brain will allow you to come just a tad further than you did before. And that's when you start to unlock both, because A, you take the fear from the brain and that
mhm.
relaxes the muscle.
This is like, okay. Me at home watching all of
Yeah.
your videos. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I got this. I got
I mean,
this.
I mean, I mean, many times I'll do that. I'll do that neck stretch sitting at a stoplight, waiting for it to turn green.
Right. That
I mean,
makes sense.
one of my dreams is that one day I'll pull up at a light, and out of the other three cars, all of them will be stretching their neck, which would be kind of funny.
Seriously, like in that movement though, which would be like,
Yeah.
I did that. I did that. What inspired you to write your book, Stretch and Release? Like what, like you just decided, hey, I got this technique, I'm gonna share it with the world, or was there more to it?
Well, there was a couple of things. I mean, anytime you write a book, you're thinking, "Oh, I think this is great, but will the rest of the world think this is great?" And I,
Absolutely.
I just started writing about almost 5 years ago, and I would get up every morning, 5 a.m., and I would write for about an hour, hour and a half. I wanted to put something in writing that somebody could read and start to understand what I'm talking about. Because when I'm just talking about it, it could sound very complicated. In fact, even when someone comes to my office the first time, I say to them, if you can remember 5% of what I tell you after today, that'd be amazing. Okay. So don't worry about it. But the book then becomes like a manual. I'll talk about my nutritional journey that I had. While I'm not a nutritionist, I learned how to lose 135 pounds and keep it off since 1998. And so then I talk about how many of the traditional treatments for the common aches and pains that we have, why do they fall short? And so many times that comes from we're treating symptoms and not causes. For instance, if you have low back pain when you get up out of bed in the morning, everybody thinks you have a back issue. They'll put all kinds of stuff, icy hot stuff, everything on your back. They'll put braces and so forth. The real cause of that is coming from the front of the thighs, not the back. Over time, that can lead to bulging disc, herniated disc. And so what I wanted was people to understand what they were doing. They're trying to help them. The doctors and therapists are trying to help you with what they know. It was how I was taught in school originally, okay? But once you start to study how the muscles work, now you see a different light with that. And then finally, towards the back end of the book, I've got several chapters where I talk about the neck and shoulders. I talk about the low back. I talk about the hips and the thighs and the calves individually. And I'll talk about the stretches. And then there's a QR code that they can go to and look at the videos to go along with that.
I love that.
So I really wanted to be more like a manual and that people can read and start to help themselves, because there's many talented people out there who can help you, but you've got to do something. In other words, you know, how many times do you see someone who's trying to lose weight and they have the gastric bypass, they have their stomach stapled, or they go on 1,500 different diets and they lose 10 pounds only to put it right back on again. It's about teaching people how to make choices during their day, in their lives, that can take the knowledge that people have that's helping them and make that last. Go back to the massage. Okay. You go to a massage, you feel good. What if you could extend that for the next week or so, you know? And so when you go back, that therapist then can pick up where you are and take you to another level.
Exactly.
And that's my whole goal. That's my whole goal with all that.
That's powerful. That is powerful. What has been the most rewarding experience in sharing the work with others?
Oh man, I mean, there's not a day that passes that I don't just leave with wow on my lips every day. To see someone who is, let's say, mid 80s, late 80s, even early 90s, come in with a smile on their face like a little girl or a little boy, that they're moving and doing things they haven't done in 10 or 15 years. And them realizing they now have the power to keep their bodies moving is amazing to me. I mean, to see someone who's I had a gentleman who was early 70s, had a hip replaced. He went into rehab with his normal PT, and towards the end of it, he started connecting me with his PT, and then the two of us worked on him. So he had his hip replaced like in October of that year, and then the following January, he was very much an avid bike rider. We had him back on his bike riding 30, 40 miles a day at 22, 23 miles an hour. Okay. To see, you know, a young kid comes to mind that was one of the sports academies here, who was a baseball pitcher, who actually missed an entire season of pitching because of his shoulder pain, to help him find out that it was actually coming from his calves and not his shoulder. And so to see those kind of stories every day is like gold. It is. I mean, I've got hundreds of them. You can just go through all of them. There's hundreds of them.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. I did read some of them, and I was like, this is wonderful. Yeah. So I did not expect. I knew it was going to be a good interview, but this interview is powerful. So this is different. What message do you want people to take away from your book, from your speaking engagements, from, you know, just what message do you want them to take away from you?
They are powerful. They are powerful. If they can just take that little bit of knowledge, and they take that knowledge and can just incorporate it into their lives, they'll be amazing how much they can change their lives. They look at it as, a lot of times people look at it as if it's from another planet. My wife sometimes will say, you're almost like from another planet, and I'll laugh and I'll say, yeah, I'm from Saturn. I love surfing on the rings. But the truth of
Right.
the matter is that two things. Number one, you learn the information and then you incorporate it into your life. And when you do that, you realize now that your doctor, your therapist, your trainer at the gym, these are people who have lots of information that can help you along the way. But you got to do something.
Right.
You got to do, you can't just, in fact, there's a funny story. I had a guy, this guy was the early 80s, and he came to me once and he came back the second time and he's like, I said, I came here one time because I was expecting like to feel great, to be free of pain. And I laughed
Right.
and I said, so you're looking for Jesus? And he looked at me really funny. I said, you were looking for me to you live your life. You don't change anything. I touch you and I heal you. I don't think that's on my card, my business card. I said, in fact, he's 2 doors down the hallway, but, but, but that's the thing, is that we have to get people to understand you have to do something.
Right.
And then
Absolutely.
once they do that, then they become very powerful.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. How can our listeners connect with you, get your book, or just sharing your techniques? How can the
Yes.
listeners do that?
Well, the first place I would start off is my YouTube channel. I have about 170 videos, totally free content. They can go on, they can look at and what I do in those videos is that I'll talk about specific ailments. It could be shoulder pain, hip pain, whatever. Why do you hurt? Why do most of the things you tried didn't really work out? And then give you 2 or 3 stretches you can do. And I'll teach it on the video so they can do that at home. I have a newsletter, and I can send you the link to that if I haven't already done that, where it comes out every Tuesday. I dive a little deeper into specific ailments, why things didn't work. And then I always have 3 videos with that newsletter as well. And that's totally free also. The
Right.
book they can get at Amazon. That's the best place to do that, is get the book, read it. Please leave a review, leave me comments, whatever. Same thing on the videos, leave me comments, because if there's something that you need to know or something you need to see, I always respond, because I want to try to help people really understand this. And then lastly, they can contact me here at the Muscle Repair Shop. Just go to my website, musclerepairshop.com. And even though they're not maybe in Sarasota, I can connect with them by Zoom, and we can talk about things by Zoom and see what's going on with them, and can help them from that avenue as well.
Okay. And where are you located?
I'm in Sarasota, Florida.
Oh, you're not that far. I'm going to send you something else. I got something else for you. I'm in
All right.
Tampa.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I'm in Tampa and I am doing an event called Healing Waves. And
Okay.
I think you would be perfect to be there.
Nice.
Even if you cannot show up, but you
Yeah.
can send some material, I'm
Yeah.
gonna send you an email, a separate email with that. So that
Perfect.
would be wonderful. Um,
Perfect.
yeah, this has been a real delight to me. I'm big on people, like using the power of their
Mhm.
mind and understanding like how the body works and
Mhm.
how everything encompassed together. And I just appreciate you so much.
Thank
I
you.
really do. I really do
Thank
from
you.
the sincereness of my heart. You don't know how excited I'm gonna listen to the listeners get this after I get it, and I'm so excited because I get to be selfish for a second and just listen to this a couple of times. Um, on Zip Mouth Motivation Podcast, I love for the guests to leave the listeners with a nugget, something that maybe takes them through the week, through the month, through the year, but something to kind of like inspire them. It could be a quote, it could be whatever you want it to be, but could you share something with
Sure.
them before we go?
One of my favorite quotes that I live by was by a guy named T. Harv Eker, and it's, how you do anything is how you do everything. And
Mm,
it's like, if you're not happy with where you are in your life, whether it's finances, whether it's health, or whatever the case may be, change the way you think about it. Change how you look at the information, and say to yourself, I can change where I am, but I've got to do something different. And once you do that and you start to live your life to say, look, whether someone's looking at me or not, I have to show up this way every time for me,
Right.
then you've got control of your life.
Mm. I'm so excited. I can, like, I cannot wait to send you this information. I so hope you can make it.
Me
Um,
too.
I really do because this is so powerful, and this completely goes along with the vibe of what I'm bringing
Mhm.
to the people. What I'm trying to bring to the people here in Tampa. It's just different ways of healing and knowing the body, knowing the spirit, knowing everything that comes together, and that sometimes you can put on a video and you can watch it, and
Mhm.
this will help you without taking medication. I'm not against medication if you need it,
Sure.
but I
Sure.
am
I understand.
definitely for the power of using what you have inside of you. So, I just wanna thank you again, Butch, for coming on the
Thank you.
show, and, I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you, listeners. Y'all see how excited I am because 'cause y'all know I love, like, when it has to do with the mind. So, this was very powerful. Thank you for your time again. Thank you, listeners. As usual, you all know I love you and I appreciate you. Um, Wherever you are, morning, noon, night, I don't know, good morning, good evening, good night, however it goes in whatever space you in. I hope that you all have a wonderful day and talk to you soon.